Welcome to the Perfect 100, the podcast for BNI members who want to maximize their membership, deepen their impact, and grow their business through intentional networking. I'm your host, Tammy Zurak, a CliftonStrengths coach, longtime BNI leader, and one of the few members worldwide to maintain a perfect Power of One score. Each week, we'll explore the habits, mindsets, and everyday strategies of BNI members who are turning their membership into momentum. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the BNI Perfect 100 podcast. I have an amazing guest for you today. His name is Ronnie Smith. Ronnie, tell us who you are. Give us a little background of what you're up to.
Okay, I'm a mortgage lender with Orion Financial. I've been doing mortgage loans for 13 years in Jackson, Tennessee area and here in the Memphis area now. Just joined East Memphis BNI about a year ago. Hold the obviously residential mortgage seat in the chapter.
You've been a member for a year. You're in, to give transparency, we're in the same chapter, so I have a little bit more inside information on Ronnie than I might have with other folks. All right, Ronnie, so we're going to have you give me your best 60 seconds. I've got a minute on the clock, so go ahead and give us the one you would share in your meeting. Ready, go.
I'm Ronnie Smith with Orion Financial. I hold the residential mortgage seat here in the East Memphis chapter. Why choose me? That's the question. Here's why. Number one, I'm local. I live in this community. I care about this community. I have a reputation to uphold in this community, and I can be held accountable here in this community. You couple that with number two, we save you time and money. At the largest credit union in Memphis, we have super competitive rates and charge no lender fees. Our whole team communicates well, not only with one another, but with our clients. You'll always know where you are in the mortgage process because we all keep you updated from start to finish. We make sure the process is running smoothly and efficiently along the way. No delayed closings or last minute requests. Orion will save you time and money. And finally, I'm reliable. If I give you a pre-approval letter to purchase a home with a green light to refinance, you'll never have to hear me say, I'm sorry, I missed that, or I didn't know, or wish I could have caught that earlier. I do my comprehensive work on the front end and provide you with a letter that actually means something. I stand behind my work every single time. Ronnie Smith, Orion Financial.
Awesome. Well, and for those that don't know, because I actually was in a chapter where they didn't know this existed, so there is a BNI timer app that you can set for the various things like the featured presentation and the however long your chapter does for the weekly commercials. So you can find that in the App Store. All right. So what strategies have you found have helped you to keep engaged in BNI for yourself so far?
Strategies?
Yes.
Really pushing in and one-on-ones. For me, it's most important to know the people. If you ever, I don't think I've been called on in one meeting to ask what is your favorite category, and relationships is always the thing for me. And so to get to know the people as deeply as I can, and not just on a business level, but about their personal lives, what they like to do, because I'm going to want to refer business. I want to treat this like family and friends. And so my strategy has been to know people well as best I can and to understand their business at the same time. But that strategy in particular, and just being real, just being myself so they know who I am as well. And sometimes you don't know if you're really talking to the person in front of you. Sometimes it's like, is this just your business
Right.
approach, like your sales pitch? But try to be authentic. And
that's a big thing, right?
in them.
For you, especially because we're going to talk about this in a minute, but based on your strengths, that's a huge trigger for you is to get to know the people. So we'll talk more about that. So we're going to jump over to, because this is the Perfect 100, we're going to jump over to that report. So for those of you listening, I will read the report that Ronnie has. And so across the board. So on the Power of One, the perfect score is 100. That means you're utilizing the framework to do all the things that BNI says will help us all be more successful within BNI. So if we go from left to right, Ronnie has 23 weeks on the report that is up on the screen, and his score is 45. He is in the red, and he recognizes he and I talked off screen or off audio about where he's at that. And one of the reasons why he wanted to be on the podcast was to kind of move things in a different direction. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more as well. But the good news is his attendance is 98%. He is in the green with 20. And of the 23 weeks, he has been, I also can see his Palms report for those of you that can't see it. He's been present all except for one where he had a sub. So, and that's why he's at 98% attendance, even though he's really at 100. When you have a sub, you don't get the full points, but you're still 20 points in the green. So that's all that matters. Now, your referrals per week, it is gray with 5. Your visitors per week are gray with 5. Your one-to-ones per week is 0.91, which is yellow, which is 15 points, and your CEUs per week, at 0, which you talked about a minute ago, right? That's not your thing. So and let's look at the Palms report, which is the next slide. There we go. So if you look across, I wanted to call out a few things. Well, first of all, what's your impression about your PowerPoint? I know because you and I have talked about it, not on here, but tell
Well,
all the
I mean,
listeners
like
what you think.
a month ago, I was in the yellow and I knew what I needed to do. So,
Okay.
but you and I have talked, and there was a kind of a crisis moment for me in deciding like what is this going to look like for me moving forward, and am I going to continue to participate in? And
Right.
just in the past week, I think it's all come clear to me what I see in front of me. Do I like it? By all means, no. Do I know what I need to do? Yes. Some of the things there's still going to be, semi-challenge, being fairly newer to the Memphis market, not knowing a ton of people, but I learned this past week, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure,
Yes.
and when we get to the CliftonStrengths thing. I
Yes.
think I have identified, even within the past week, my way forward and my way to get out of the red and into green eventually. That's the goal.
Yes. Well, and thank you for being, I guess, vulnerable is the right word to share. And not that this report is never you're a bad person because you're, gray, red, whatever. All it is really is a measurement of the success that you're having utilizing the framework that is been kind of proven for 40 years that will work for you. If you do all the things, eventually you will get the business that you're looking for, and it's going to be unique and different for everyone based on what they do and who they are. And that's why I kind of wanted to marry the CliftonStrengths with your BNI experience, because how you work BNI is unique to you. And, we're going to talk about that in a minute. I did want to look at the Palms report, which is, if you're seeing this on screen, you can see that Ronnie's Palms report, but I will read it for the rest. He referrals given inside is 2, and this is a series of if you pull up your personal Palms report, anybody can do this. You can pull up your own anytime you like, and it automatically defaults to 6 months worth, because that is what the Power of One is. Also, it is also 6 months of time. So if you're trying to steer a ship away from an iceberg, it gives you a kind of a history of what you've seen. And also it can record, sometimes things aren't getting captured. Potentially your vice president didn't process a report or whatever. But if you've missed something, this is the first place you look, because, if you're saying I've been giving referrals or receiving referrals and they're not showing, you can go back and see which week. So you can kind of keep track of things. But referrals given inside 2, referrals given outside 6. So do you have a partner in a different chapter that you're doing some business with? Is that what that is? Or sometimes the app, it defaults to the wrong thing and you just don't switch it over. Is that what that
Yeah.
is? Okay.
Yeah, that's got to be what that is, because that's all
Okay.
I've only given inside the chapter. I don't know
Okay.
anybody outside the chapter that I've given
Okay. So
anything to.
that's 8 total referrals given inside the chapter then. And then
Yeah.
referrals received inside, for those of you that can't see my hand, there's a 0. It's a goose egg, which is concerning, right? Is if you are at 1 year mark, because Ronnie's about to coming up on a year here shortly, looking at that going, what do I want to do here, right? Does this make sense for me? And I am, I've been in BNI for 10 years or more than 10 years. And I think it makes sense for everybody when done in a way that makes sense for them. So we'll talk more about that, because it's obviously not something anybody wants to see is 0 referrals received. And Well, it says received inside that, but it says you've received referrals from the outside. So has somebody sent you
Yeah.
referrals?
There have been a few, not as many as I've referred, I think, but all inside. I've not gotten anything from outside. So something's happening with.
This episode is brought to you by Tammy Zurak Coaching. Ready to build your strengths, your business, and your brand? Visit TammyZurak.com and click the button to book your free strategy chat. Let's turn your passion into a thriving success. TammyZurak.com. Okay. Well, the
The way that's
referrals
reporting.
received outside should be coming from a different chapter. So, when you get off this podcast, we can go and look in your app and see if maybe there's some things you didn't see. Because sometimes I will find, and this is a best practice alert, I will find sometimes somebody will send me a referral and they only send it through the system. So if you're lucky, you see the pop up on your phone, say somebody sent you a referral, and you go and you look at it. But if you missed it, then sometimes you don't go and look at your app and you don't even realize that there was a referral sent to you. And I know that has happened to other people. So best practice for me is if I'm going to send somebody a referral and they're in my phone, I will send them a text. If they're not in my phone, I will send them an email and say, hey, I just sent you this person and here's why. And as much information as I can give, because a warm referral is only a warm referral if you know some information. Right? It's kind of hard to call somebody up when you don't know anything other than here's their info, which is not much better than a cold referral. So
Sure.
if we can warm up the seat for our fellow BNI members, that's awesome. And that will help with that. All right, so visitors is one. One-to-ones is 23 out of 23 weeks. So good job. You're supposed to do 1 week. You got that. And then thank you for closed business. On the pause report, that's what you've given. So $1,825 is what you've given. And if you've had 0 referrals, I'm guessing what you've received is also 0. So not a good thing. And then CEUs is 0. So if you had a strategy looking at that, because you and I spoke, but that doesn't mean our listeners have heard anything. So kind of thinking about what you want to do to make things change a little bit. Give me just one thing that you think you're going to change for a strategy.
Well, I'm going to carve out time, just a daily time for CEU. I've got to do that, and I can make that happen. It's really just being a little bit more organized with my time. That's one thing. I will
Okay.
give you another thing. I want to go ahead and what I've realized over the past week is making sure I'm out of the office at networking events, chamber events, whatever, because I'm just in the past week, I've been to 2 things that have given me opportunities that are going to lead to people being invited to BNI, our meetings. And so,
Yes.
but I don't know, for whatever reason, just avoided going to these things and seeing the importance of it. So there's 2 things for you.
Yeah,
That
and it's a perfect lead into our next slide, which is going to be Ronnie's top 5 Clifton strengths. So for those that can't see again, I'm going to read them for you. So Ronnie's top strength is woo, and woo, for those that are uneducated to Clifton strengths, is not that woo woo, you're a woo woo person. It is winning others over. So it says you love the challenge of meeting new people and winning them over, which is ironic because you just said in the last sentence that you weren't going to outside events. And that's a thing that based on all of which we're going to get all of them here in a second, but that should be a good thing for you, right? Is you enjoy meeting new people and breaking the ice, making new connections. So we in our chapter, again, I have a little kind of more insight because we're on the same chapter, but we started we divided the chapter into 4 things and ask people to pick, when I say 4 things, and I actually don't have them right in front of me, but I'm trying to remember what they are. Retention, hospitality, I can't remember the other 2, but hospitality was the one that Ronnie got put on. Everybody just chose the area that they wanted to focus on helping the chapter grow through, and hospitality, perfect for Ronnie based on his top 5 skill sets. So top 5 talents rather. So Making new connections. All right. Then the second one is communication. So you generally find it easy to put your thoughts into words, and you're a good conversationalist and presenter. And I have seen and heard you do both, and I agree. All right. Next one. So number three is positivity. So you have contagious enthusiasm. You're upbeat and can get others excited about what they are going to do. Number four is connectedness. You have faith in the links among all things. You believe there are few coincidences and that almost every event has meaning. So you don't think things just happen. They happen because they're supposed to. We were all meant to be probably in the same BNI chapter for a reason. And you value that group of people being there together, hopefully to support you. And then the last is number five is developer. You recognize and cultivate the potential in others. You spot the signs of each small improvement and derive satisfaction from evidence of progress. So I want to ask you, after you got your report, your assessment results, I know before you took it, you said to me, I'm not even sure what my strengths are. So were you surprised when you got your assessment back with the results?
Not at all. I showed my wife. I read it to her, and she was laughing. Uh,
Because it was so true to life.
yeah. Like, the report goes a little more in depth with some of
Yes.
those things that you just read off the kind of the one sentence summary. But there's one phrase under the uh, they see no strangers, only friends they haven't met yet.
Right.
That's me.
Yes.
That's me to a core. So, to my core. But yeah, I was all of them. I mean, and some of the ones toward the bottom, um, there are different ways that I develop and connect, that I, even outside of BNI, that I see myself doing all the time. Love to connect people with the right things. A friend of mine, I'll tell you this story. A friend of mine's business who visited our chapter. His business has been struggling. He's looking for opportunities, and my radar's on full alert. And I called him last night. I got three people I've talked to that I think you need to. And so I'm just thinking of how I can connect him to the right folks, and so that's kind of how I'm wired, when I can meet the people, which is important. Go and meet.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I like to
Yes.
do what I do.
Yes. So your themes are, and so the colors next to the talents that you have three relationship building and two influencing. And you may have, these are only the top five. So when you do your full 34, there's probably a whole bunch more supporting characters behind that, but these are the ones you tend to be in the most. And so relationship building and influencing are your two things, and you live in that world. So it's interesting to me that it's perfect for BNI. I mean, I can't imagine a different, this, everything you possess is perfect for what we do at BNI. But how you use it is the thing. So what one thing, after you read your report, did you feel like I really want to? And I thought it was funny. Also, you said I have a story for you, and which is what people with your talents do. They tell stories. That's how they connect with people, is through stories. And so in communication, you enjoy a good story to share, which is great for BNI, because when we do our weekly commercial, however long it is, a story lands for people because a story is easier to remember. I can't tell you how many times somebody's told me of a circumstance that they solved, a story they fixed in their business. And when I meet somebody who I think would be a good referral for them, I tell that story, right? Because stories are easy to remember. And that, sort of the character and the struggle being solved by the person is what we all unanimously share. We're in business to solve some sort of problem generally, or make things better. And so when those things happen, that story is what is in our brain that we remember. So that's awesome. So you're going to lean into. Tell me again, what are you leaning into as you move forward now that you know your strengths? Or did I ask you that question? I can't remember now.
Well, we've probably danced around it a good bit, if not hit right on it. But using my personality, and going and just meeting new people.
Yes.
Because and learning their stories and making friends and then connecting them uh, to my group and
Yes.
wherever I need to connect them
Yeah. So
to my friends
you're
outside of this group. So it's yeah, I think that's what I this just confirmed. The CliftonStrengths, I think, was like a siren going off.
yeah, that's
Here
awesome.
you go. You know yourself, and you're dumb enough to forget it, apparently. But just go do what you do and go be who you are.
Yeah. Well, and and the interesting thing for me always, whenever I get people's assessments back, is the first person we forget, or not forget, but the first opportunity we have is to we when we receive what our strengths are, it's kind of outward. It's like, what are we doing with other people? We sometimes forget to look at ourselves and apply our own strengths to our own self. And you have developer, so you understand how to take people that are not getting what they need and help them get more of it. And you enjoy cultivating that thing. So you can apply that to yourself. Is what are you, if you look, kind of take a step back from what the reports say, and, look at your how you're doing things, either in your, BNI chapters, what we're here talking about it, but it also applies to what you do for work. Are you developing, look at yourself, if this was someone else that you were trying to help, because I know you like to help people. So, how would you help yourself first? They always, and I think I said this in the last podcast, is when you're on an airplane, the first thing they do is tell you to put the mask on yourself and then help your neighbor.
Yeah.
So as you're thinking about those things, is how can you take all the things you're great at, and that positivity, sometimes is it hard for you to maintain that positivity all the time?
Is it hard?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, especially, I mean, like with just the way BNI's gone for me so far, the way my work has gone over the last 3 years in a
Right.
down, mortgage market. Sometimes it is hard to maintain positivity, but I'm generally an optimist, and
Right.
so it's it comes more naturally for me to be positive even in the
Yes.
hard circumstances. So
Yeah, with the way and the top five that you have kind of intermingle with each other, you really have a
mhm.
gift to see potential. And then you have a gift to communicate. So, can you aim those things at the people that are your team in your chapter? And and the cool thing about knowing what your strengths are is, I looking at mine, you and I are kind of on opposite ends of things. So sometimes it's good to pair with somebody who is strong in other areas to help make you better. And the same goes for me. As I was looking at yours, I'm in the 20s on most of the things that you're strong at. In the full 34. In fact, developer is my number 30, which is ironic. And it doesn't mean I'm not good at developing. It just means I don't go about it the same way you do. I'm a maximizer, so development is in my top five, but it reads a different way. I like to take good things and make them great. You like to take underperforming things across the board and work with everyone.
Staying ahead in a world driven by technology is key. At Wisdom Integrators, we don't just solve problems, we create opportunities. Wisdom Integrators, connecting your world, solving your problems.
And actually, it can be there's a blind spot with developers sometimes, is if you think about potentially someone in the chapter. Let's say you're on the membership committee, and maybe you want to give people chances that maybe they shouldn't have, because that's how you are. You might say, I can save them, and sometimes they can't be saved, right?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between, maximizer, developer. Maximizer is just going to move on to the next thing. So sometimes it's good to have that well-rounded view and pair with people. And that also goes for inside the chapter for just building your teams, right? As you can,
Yeah.
sometimes the person you're in your chapter you think is least likely to give you a referral is just somebody that's just waiting to give you your best referral. You just haven't had that conversation yet. So sometimes you have to think about it like that. All right. So when you think about the overall chapter, how do you personally, because now you know these things, how do you feel like you personally contribute to the growth, the energy, the success?
How will I, or how
How,
am I
yeah,
currently?
either are or will, it's fine.
Um, yeah, I would like to say how I will.
Okay.
I mean, generally speaking, I feel a part of the chapter. I don't feel like a big producing part, and obviously you can see that on paper, or in a report. But I know what my potential is, and I know that I'm capable of contributing more. And I think my part will be using my strengths, like I mean, we're going to keep beating a dead horse here, but getting out more and being in front of people outside of our chapter at different things, which is going to benefit my chapter, hopefully our chapter,
Yes.
and getting guests and just maybe, adding to our chapter. We'll see. But I know that's where it is, and then maybe once we get them in the chapter, using the gifts of development, if folks are struggling like myself, and I'll be able to speak from experience to
Yes.
say, you can do this. I was here at this point and in the red and probably having conversations with people about my future in BNI, and just have to make a decision, but being able to encourage people to say you can climb out of the hole, and if you want to. So
Yes, yes, that's amazing. Yeah, I think it's because storytelling is your strong suit, and I think that having been there, done that for a lot of people is the best story, right? Is if I there's that struggle that we all have at some point. When you can pull
mhm.
yourself out of that struggle, and with the help, and that's what we do, in BNI. I feel like that relationship building, which is your relationship building is one of your key strengths. You've got 3 that are up on the screen for those that can't see it. That's your main thing, is relationship building and influencing. So helping people are the main things. You don't have any in your top 5. I would venture to say if we did unlock the rest, there would definitely be some executing and strategic thinking, but your go-to is people. So really for you, I don't think you necessarily need to do more. You just need to be more of you. And yeah, and you need to be more intentional, right? It's just having intention behind applying what you already do well to the thing that you've decided will work if we do it. Something along those lines, right?
Yeah,
Um,
correct.
so if you were to give advice to somebody new, and maybe we've kind of covered it, we'll see, but if you were going to give advice to somebody just joining a chapter, or maybe somebody struggling, what advice would you give them to work towards the perfect 100?
Well, if you're buying in the beginning, just to start with the mindset of go all in, um, uh, and you're investing in this, so you're not going to get any return unless you invest fully. So myself, and there are varying reasons. I'm not going to get into all the details of my life right now and why it's been a struggle to do certain things and not do certain things, but um, giving your all. And I can honestly say, BNI has not gotten my all up to this point. Now, I've got to push myself toward that. And so it's easy to kind of pick one thing and say, well, I can do this and not the others. But I'm realizing the importance of all the things. And so going all in on all the things as best you can is going to benefit everyone, not just yourself, but the entire group.
Yeah, in the rising tide lifts all ships kind of situation, is we all go through those seasons where some life happens, there's things, so you can't always give all the things all the time, but when you can, and if you can't, that's where having an amazing chapter to fall back on can help. Is we can, if you can share, and you don't have to share, but it's just helpful when you have a group that you trust, like and trust, that we can share these things with each other, and we can help, and when things are in a downturn, we can help support each other. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and if I may add,
Yeah.
knowing, I don't know, it's and this relates in a lot of different areas of life, but kind of the whole idea of teamwork. I love it here at my office. I'm starting to see the benefit of having my whole team, not just myself, focused in on the loans, but I've watched this team perform and act like no team that I've been a part of before. They're taking on things and tasks and helping with things that I'm not used to them helping with, which makes my job a little bit easier. But when you see a teammate, let's give an example, say a basketball team, and you're out there, all of you, you think playing as hard as you can, but then you realize one of my players is not giving full effort. There's going to be some frustration on the court. It's going to lead to contention within the team itself, and it's going to lead to lack of, optimal performance with that team too. And the same goes to for BNI. I just was sitting there thinking last week, like, you're affecting this team in the way it performs to some degree, and so I want to carry that weight and understand that responsibility of if these are my true friends and people that I want to spend years doing business with and building friendships with, what does it say to them when I don't care to do the things I'm supposed to do? And
Yeah.
so that you want to be an authentic friend who shows their authenticity or their true friendship by being a true friend and participating with the team like you've committed to do. So
Yeah, I love that. And it's funny you said that because I just had a conversation with somebody about CliftonStrengths about that. Is that same team that you're talking about is if we're asking and I don't know positions in basketball very well, but let me switch to baseball because I know baseball well. If I'm asking the center fielder to be the pitcher, um, and pitch a good game, am I going to get the best out of that person? Probably not, right? Ronnie shaking his head no. So, but if I ask the pitcher to, pitch and and I support them in they're a really good pitcher and I help them do some pitching, throwing, all the things that make them stronger, they're going to be better. And so are we as a whole, right? So sometimes we're just not operating in our strengths. And when we don't know what they are, that's hard to do. So I
that's
think the
where the
first step,
coach comes in, though. He has to
I
help
know, weird, right?
help the players recognize. I think we
Yes,
have a coach in our group
there might be a coach that can
to
help with
help
that.
determine strengths.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, because you can feel lost if you're trying to do things that aren't in your wheelhouse, so to speak,
Yeah.
but other people can help support you do them. There's all kinds of solutions that, I have high ideation. I've already thought of like 3 or 4 things to get your CEUs up that don't involve you listening to a podcast. Although we are on a podcast, so please do listen to this podcast and all the others. Because you are going to get a CEU for listening to this one. So,
Yeah. And,
um,
and and let me just give a plug for you in the moment because this test, so I've taken personality tests over the years, and I can't even name them all. There are even ones within churches, there are these spiritual gift tests. And it just seems like over the years, I don't know if I didn't answer the questions, they can be confusing sometimes.
right.
But I never had anything that just kind of jumped off the charts and was obvious. It was like I had a bunch of 6 on a scale of 0 to 10. Like I was 6 in like most of the categories and nothing was strong. And this CliftonStrengths thing, for whatever reason, I do feel like this is the first time that I've ever taken one of these tests, personality, strengths, whatever you want to call it. This is a
Right.
strength test, and feel like I'm walking away with something valuable. So I want to thank you for
Oh, awesome.
that.
And you're welcome. Yeah, it's for me, it's been life-changing because I did the top 5 and if you may have heard me say these things before, but I did the top 5 in 2009 the first time, and then again in I think it was 2015, and then again later I did the full 34 and hired a coach, and that made a big difference because knowing it is one thing, but applying it is another. So having the knowledge is great, but knowing how to use it is another. So thank you for that. So what was most useful from our conversation today for you, Ronnie?
Putting my power of one and my palms report, all of that up there, just to remind me where I am, because there's nowhere to go but up.
Yes, yes, and
I
sometimes
guess
that's the best.
sometimes the best place to be in. Can't really go much lower. I could go lower.
Well, I'll look forward to checking in with you later, but I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate everybody that's listening today. So keep on building what makes you, you, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to The Perfect 100. If today's episode sparked a new idea or inspired you to show up differently in your chapter, share it with your team and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you're curious about your own Clifton strengths and how to bring out the best in yourself or your chapter or your business, head to TammyZurak.com to learn more about building your superpowers into everything you do. Keep showing up, keep connecting, and keep building your perfect 100.